excellent. Can you hear me, Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, excellent. We are good. Yeah, I just had to run around and start up the Skype and all that fun stuff. First of all, thanks for joining us tonight. Uh, I heard you on Busted Open this week, uh, and I'd seen you before in Ring of Honor, and
Right.
and this is the first time I think I ever heard you do an interview, as far as I mean in my little world, and I was like, man, this guy talks well. His story's great. Um, he's got two daughters, so I gotta relate with that. I have three of my own, and so I sympathized a little bit, and
Right.
it was awesome. So uh,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, it's great to have you on here tonight. Um, I Shane Taylor Promotions. I won't mess it up like LaGreca did, but
Oh man, there's so many people that say productions, and I'm like, fam, it's
yeah,
on the logo.
it's on the
It's right
logo.
there.
It's the it's the promotion that causes the commotion for
Hey,
sure.
as my man Ron Hunt would say, yeah, that's one of his lines.
Yeah, that's definitely his lines for sure. And so I went and I watched some of the vignettes coming out for Ring of Honor TV. Back, you guys did the bubble. We'll definitely touch on that because I like where that stuff is going. I like everything right now coming out with Ring of Honor. I think, uh, unfortunately, uh, I guess if you want to pick a silver lining for the pandemic, I think Ring of Honor really handled it well. We've talked to a few
Hmm.
of talent and what they did. I mean, if you can find a silver lining for what we're going through, uh,
Right.
but I just want to touch on your story growing up and getting into wrestling, because it was challenging, from what I know, from what I heard, and then I delved into it, did some research through Busted Open, and did you find it? You had a rough, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm using the wrong terms, but growing up in Cleveland, was it challenging to not like follow in your father's footsteps and in what was going on? And do you want to just let people know about that a little bit?
Without getting
Yeah.
into specifics for obvious reasons,
Yep. Yeah. Oh, of course,
it
for
was
sure.
the no, it wasn't challenging not to
Yeah. Yeah.
because everything around you sort of gives you the opportunity. And I always try to correct people that have never grown up in those environments. They assume, like, oh, well, if you're getting into stuff like that, your parents don't care or no, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
complete. Like, you're going to have some parents that are like that. My parents were not. They very much cared and they busted their asses to make sure that I stayed away from it as much as possible. My mom died when I was young, but so my dad, raising three boys, he's going to have to work.
Yep.
He's going to have to go out there and provide however he can, right? So when you have that sort of free time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, we played sports and did all that, but when you have that free time, you're going to find out how to get into stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's just a part of growing up, right? It's just where I grew up was much different than
Yeah.
growing up in the burbs and, going to do whatever it is that people in the burbs do, right?
Yeah.
The things around us were much more violent. So you learn to adapt. And when you come from a city like Cleveland, if you're soft, the city will eat you alive. That's just the plain and short of it, right? This is no different than when you look at people that tell you stories and they're from Compton or they're from Chicago or they're from, Philly or they're from wherever. Like you can have people from different regions all telling you the same story
Yeah.
that this is what happens. So it's very easy to follow in those footsteps. The hard part was not following in those footsteps. That was the challenging part. And so my dad then challenging me to do that and not follow in those footsteps and be a better man than he was in his own words, right?
Yeah.
I took that very seriously, and my dad is a hell of a man. So for me to want to try to surpass him somehow in that way, man, I was really gonna have to do the stuff that I was supposed to do,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what drove me to sort of finding a way to make something out of my passion.
Yeah. I think maybe I worded it wrong because that's what I was going for. Was it challenging for
Yeah.
you not to do that? I think that's where I was leaning on that. Um
Mhm.
and and so it's tough and I understand that I played sports and things, I got into things too, but I don't think where I was living at the time, as a kid, as a child, was the same, and so I definitely relate and I understand, but uh you know
Mhm.
so so you're three boys, and from what I found out, you're the first in your family to go to college.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Chase, go ahead. What?
Yep. First,
Yeah.
first to go. My cousin Walter was right behind me. He actually went to Harvard too,
Oh,
like Harvard Business, which
good
is
job.
absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. I couldn't be prouder of the guy. Now he's in the Chicago area doing, I want to say like stocks and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Just absolutely fantastic. Um, yeah, first to go to college, graduate, and that was all part of, trying to figure out how to improve
Yeah.
not only my situation but going forward my future kids and future generations, and then trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to end some of these cycles that you see
Yeah.
kind of recurrent in cities like mine.
Yeah. And one of the things I took away from that busted open interview was, and it might have been that interview that you had this week, and then another one that I was listening to, and I think that's where the Shane Taylor Promotions, your character comes in. Like you want to represent, you want to change that cycle, you want to represent, um you know uh how wrestlers that look like you, wrestlers, your color, your size, all that, you want to represent in and out of the ring, it, not be stigmatized, I guess is the word I'm looking for, as it used to be. Am I right in this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is, and stigma is a great word,
Okay.
right? Because there's a stigma that comes along with being an African American wrestler. Then there's a stigma that comes along with being um, very no nonsense about a lot of the BS that goes on in wrestling. Then there's a stigma that comes with standing up for yourself, right? And so me being someone that is all three of those, it is very easy for people, especially in the business world, to be nervous around me or be scared of my message because they're not used to people like myself talking to them the way I do,
Mm-hmm.
right? But where I'm from, you're not going to disrespect me. You're going to talk to me like you have sense. You're going to treat me with respect, or I can treat you like I have none of those things. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for someone like myself who isn't going to be the quiet one, is not going to let you walk all over me, is not going to let you tell me what my value is or what I'm supposed to be. Um, that presents a lot of problems for some people. So, um, what I am trying to do, and what my guys are trying to do, is be those leaders, be those examples that can show we can be team players and entertain everybody and bring something to everybody so that every fan in that building can have an incredible time. They can hear great stories, see great matches, but
Yeah.
at the same time, knowing who we are and what we represent to those watching us on TV. It was very few far in between I got to see a strong, positive African American male on TV that was doing the right things and being successful. There was always an asterisk of some kind. You had to be, in order to be successful, you had to be a rapper or a ball player
Yeah.
or a pimp, or you were doing all the negative stuff was highlighted as ways to be successful, but nothing of the positive, right? There was no successful engineers, there was no nothing like lawyers, none of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So being at the platform that we're at now, it's paramount that uh, we were able to show these positive things on TV, on those screens, and influence those next generations because they're the ones who are going to inherit the world. And if they can't see, if they can't see what's in front of them or what the possibilities are, then they're never going to realize those.
Yeah. And I mean, that message in that message, what you just said there, and how you portray and what you want to get your message across to the youth, um, is just means a lot. Like that's I uh you I was listening to a podcast that you were doing, and you had to talk
Mhm.
about you talked about having to explain not only the pandemic to one of your kids, but some of the you know the social injustice that some of the stuff that we're seeing in our society at this time, and I related so well with that because I had to explain it to two of my daughters. One of mine is younger, and
Right.
it and we're coming from different angles here, but I did my best to explain what was happening and how it shouldn't be and how we need things need to change. And I just think I just think that you're using your platform for a great message, and that's it's just I don't know that I guess I'm putting that over, but yeah,
Thank you, man.
yeah,
Thank you. And yeah, it's tough, man.
yeah, it
And
is.
I think that people are starting to see what people from my community have been saying for decades, right? But again, when you don't experience these things or
Yeah,
that's not your perspective,
right.
it's very hard uh, to grasp the magnitude of what people are saying, right? But now with technology, people can see,
Yep.
like, look, this is what we were talking about. This has been happening. This is the system in which we are talking about that is completely unfair, and we don't get the same privileges. We don't get the same freedoms. We don't get the same benefit of the doubt. We don't get the same treatment. All of this stuff, right? The court of laws that are supposed to protect us all don't even work the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So trying to show people that, and people are starting to see that, that's very shocking to a lot of people,
Yep.
right? But then when you're trying to explain it to children, any person of the inner city, if you talk to them about when their parents had the talk with them,
Yeah.
that's not the birds and the bees talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what happens when you come across police or when you find yourself in any sort of situation like that. And so I had that talk when I was super young. We're talking 8, 9 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At a time where kids should be thinking about, well, I want to play baseball or da da da. I'm having to worry about how I need to conduct myself to be less threatening when I'm around police.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to eventually have to have that talk with my daughters.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just the reality of what we're in. But like you said, it shouldn't be happening.
No.
And the first step towards fixing it is for everyone to understand that there's an issue, then educate themselves, and then work on ways to eliminate some of the problems that keep these cycles going.
Yeah. I agree. And listen, like I've uh listen, I before this whole pandemic came, I work with children with autism, but they're like school age kids, and they're from all different backgrounds, and some of this stuff was going down, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the conversations with me, and it's just it's I preached the same thing. I was like, you got to listen, and you got to listen to others, and um just get informed and all that stuff. And it's just it was tough. It was tough then. It was tough when I had to talk to my kids. I teared up listening to a podcast when you talked about one of your daughters saying, hey, is that gonna happen to me? And I was just like,
Man,
no, man. Like, why? Like, I can't believe into that is coming out of her mouth. I mean, I can't relate, so, but
right.
I could relate as a dad listening to her daughter say things like that, and I
Mhm.
felt bad, and I don't even know, but
Right. And
anyway,
and at 6 years old, I mean, she
yeah,
was 5 at the time. Like, to
yeah,
hear that
yeah,
that conversation was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do
mm,
ever. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and I've fought guys with guns and knives.
Yeah.
I would have much rather have done that in that moment,
Yeah.
like than have that conversation. But um, I just had to let her know that if I have anything to do with it, that'll never happen. You know,
Yes, that's what you said.
um, and God help anybody if it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's the way it should be.
you'll be fam. You'll be seeing me on every news station. Some shit like that happens, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's just it's one of the biggest things that growing up fast did for me was prepare me for the world, right?
Yep.
And I find myself as an adult now much more prepared and much further along than a lot of other people my age from different demographics and socioeconomic
Yep.
backgrounds because I do know what the real world was like. I had to see it very young. So for a lot of them, it's like they're just now learning what the world is like. Meanwhile, I was 11 years old
Yeah.
knowing exactly how the world was. So I almost feel like I have a 20-year head start on a lot of people. So really trying to figure out how then to um, put myself in a position to help others, has been what I've wanted to do forever. I just need to figure out the way that I was going to do it, what vehicle I was going to take, and it's pro wrestling.
Yeah. And it is pro wrestling. And I remember on my TV here, uh, I saw some Ring of Honor, and I saw this man running roughshod with the TV title, just yapping away, dominating. And I might be wrong. I might be wrong on this, but are you? I might be wrong. Are you the longest reigning, or you were the longest reigning? I think TV champion the Ring of Honor has had.
No, that
No.
was the goal.
Oh, that was the
The
goal. So that's why
longest
it was in
single
my head.
reign. Yep, the longest single reign is held by Jay Lethal.
Okay.
The total length of a combined reign is still held by Jay Lethal,
Oh,
and the number of championship defenses is held by Jay Lethal. I believe that mark is around 26 or 27 for combined reigns. I wanted to break both of those records. And you could argue, had I just won at Final Battle
yeah.
and beat Dragon Lee, I would be close to the record now for length of championship run. Um, but yeah, but for a lot of people, even though I didn't meet my goal, a lot of people still, rank my television championship run as one of the best that they've seen, and it's comparable to Jay's from the stories that I get. So
Yeah.
I can't thank those folks enough that feel that way. I put my heart and soul into it, and wanted to just prove everybody wrong. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There was no special treatment. There was no, hey, we're gonna bring in these stars and bring in these stars and do all this stuff for you. There was none of that. You know what I mean? Like I've seen with past champions. So I really had to go, all right, I'm going to prove to you why I am a main event guy. I'm going to prove to you why I'm a starter. I'm going to prove to you why when you need a home run or the clock is ticking down and you need someone to take that shot, why it should damn sure be me.
Excellent. Um, Ring of Honor, they had their pure tournament. They've gone back into the bubble. Ring of Honor TV, I think, just kicked off last week, I believe. I mean, the pure tournament was before that and stuff like that. But the protocols they went through, I know we talked to the other guys. They took care of all their talent through this pandemic. You know, so you guys didn't have to worry about that. So kudos to
Right.
them. Uh, and the bubble and the protocols. And I saw the promo today. On Twitter doing my research. You got your sights set for the world title, but first, you'll have to get through Kenny King this coming Monday, and that is a extremely long story going all the way back to the Rebellion days. Um,
Right.
how do you feel about that upcoming match that you're gonna have with Kenny King and your sights on the world title?
I'm excited.
Yeah,
Um, Anytime you step in there with a guy the caliber of Kenny King, and we could spend all day listing his accolades,
yeah,
but there have only been 3 African American males to win the Ring of Honor World Television Championship in the almost 20-year history of the company. Myself, Kenny King, and Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
Kenny King's won it twice. Him and Jay are the only guys to do that, along with some others. But we're talking specifically about this group,
Yeah.
right? To be in there with a guy that's that accomplished, that's made that much history, that is that good at what he does, and also have the fact that he's been a friend and a mentor damn near since day one when I walked into Ring of Honor, that makes it even more special. But from a competitive aspect, he's beaten me now in singles competition on 2 occasions. I've yet to score a singles victory over him. So he's walking into this match undefeated against me. Now, mentally, that doesn't sit right with me because I want to be the best and I'm chasing legacy. That's what this is about. I want to be one of those historic figures, like when people look back and they talk about a Jim Brown or a Tommy Smith or a John Carlos or a Muhammad Ali. I want to be in that conversation of athlete. So I can't do that unless I am passing legacies, unless my legacy is going up. And right now, what's stopping that is Kenny King. So I have to get past that. I have to beat Kenny in order for me to continue on my path to where I want to be.
Yeah. Um, when you do get by Kenny, and it will be a
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal match, I believe this coming Monday. I know that Brody King has said he's going for that world title. Roosh is your champ. I'm sure Taven's gonna be around somewhere in here. Uh, what are your plans? How are you gonna set yourself apart from that group so you can get that legacy? You can, when it all boils down, you will be standing tall with that Ring of Honor title.
Well, option number one is the same as always. Whoever's in front of me, I'm going to cock back my hands and start throwing bombs until they
There you go.
drop. And we're going to see how many times they want to get back up. And if they're willing to do so, then I'll keep knocking them down and keep busting their ass until they realize they're just outgunned. Um, but that all I can keep doing is keep putting myself in the right spot, keep performing the way I do, keep being unapologetically me, keep being the champion for the people, and keep being the guy that people can depend on to say exactly what needs to be said, regardless of uh, regardless of the outcomes, regardless of the punishment or circumstance. Continue to be the leader that I was meant to be, um, and everything else will work itself out.
Excellent. Um, and I can't wait for that match, the Kenny King, because it's gonna be great. And that stuff they put up on I think it was Ring of Honor's Twitter, you talking about your past, about with Kenny and the rebellion. That's great. I had something written down here earlier and I skipped over it and I didn't want to because I like to hear you talk about it. Um, and you mentioned your name along with all those other names like Muhammad Ali and Jim Brown. 1992 August. What does it mean to you to see Ron Simmons beat Vader on that day?
Everything, man. Like I mentioned before, especially when you're talking about pro wrestling, it was very, very, very rare on your TV screens to see an African American male being positive, but also being
Yeah.
taken seriously,
Yep.
right? And the two um, aren't necessarily congruent, right? Because you had a lot of successful black wrestlers,
Yep.
right? But there was always something there. Like, and this is no disrespect to anybody's legacy, character, or whatever. This is specifically my opinion on it, right? So I didn't know anybody that walked around with parrots. I didn't know anybody
Yep.
that put dog collars on their neck and barked. I didn't know anybody like that, right? I didn't know anybody who was doing like super shucky and jiving
Yep.
sort of stuff. Like those aren't the people that I was around. I couldn't relate to any of that. What I could relate to was a guy who came out, played football, decided to chase his dream, bust his ass, and worked hard to be the man, worked hard to be the number one guy, and was able to achieve that. No asterisk, no silly characters, nothing like that. And you could see when the building erupted that
Yes.
everybody from every background
Yeah.
related to that guy, right? So
Yeah.
it shows that you can have mass appeal, you can have mainstream appeal, and simply just be a phenomenal athlete that works hard. And it doesn't have to always be these stereotype characters that people want to pigeonhole us in, right? We can have we can do everything that our counterparts can do. We can have guys go out there and be an Orton or an
Yep.
Austin or a Flair or a Cena. We can have people go out there and do that and have depth of character and range, and not just be, you know, pimps or uh, street guys
Yeah.
or any of the, you know, stereotypical roles that people have had and companies have had for minority people in the, you know, in decades past.
Yeah, for sure. I remember with that moment in '92, Ron Simmons, like you said, it did have mass appeal. I popped hard. I that power slam. Oh man, I
Right.
can remember it like it was yesterday. Uh,
Goosebumps.
and
Goosebumps.
I think Ring of Honor is also doing a really, I mean, they're doing a great job. It's not those stereotypical uh characters. And I you know, yourself, Kenny King, Jay Lethal, just great stuff going over there right now. And I look forward to everything coming up this Monday with Kenny King. Uh, is there anything you'd like to put over? Something I do at the end of every show is I give you a mic, you know, the proverbial mic. You can put over anything you want. You can plug anything you want. Let us know, and you know, I won't interrupt.
Very important. You left out one of those names,
Oh,
which would be Jonathan Gresham,
Gresham, yeah,
the
just won the
brand new
pure title. Yep,
champion.
I knew I dropped the ball somewhere.
Now you're good,
Yeah,
but you know that's
yeah,
everybody leads in their own way, you know, and for Ring of Honor to have as many different leaders as we do,
yeah,
all sort of seeing things differently, um, is a plus, right? And yeah, you have to give kudos to them for having the balls, for lack of a better
yeah,
word, to do that.
yep.
So there's that. But yeah, obviously, we'll hit the social media stuff: Facebook / Notorious Shane Taylor, Twitter and Instagram at Shane216Taylor. Um, I know times are tough, but if anybody is in the merch buying mood, since the holidays are
That's
coming
right.
up, head on over to ROHWrestling.com. Hit the pro shop, plenty of great merch there. Check out the Shane Taylor promotion stuff there. Also, special shouts out to my guys Con and Moses SOS. Their brand new T-shirt just hit the pro shop. Their very first one. So go ahead and support those guys and show them some love. And also, prowrestlingtees.com / Shane Taylor. All of my personal stuff is up there. Um, it's been an incredible 13-year ride
Yeah,
so far. Here's, you know, to 20 more.
there you
See what
go.
happens.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Very insightful, and I can't wait to see your match Monday and everything that to come from you, man. Keep getting the word out there.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah. Anytime. Have a great night.
You too.
Later. Awesome, awesome stuff. All right, let's go back to this scene. I'll have to hang out. Oh, he did. Awesome, awesome.